The brands you've trusted your entire life have been lying to you about what's really in their products. 12 of the UK's most trusted brands are using manufacturing processes that would horrify you if you saw them. Starting from mechanically recovered meat paste marketed as premium sausages to bread pumped full of chemicals that never existed in traditional baking, these household names have built empires on deception. Manufacturers have spent decades perfecting the art of making ultra-processed food look wholesome. So in this video, I'll expose the 12 brands to avoid, the manufacturing tricks they use to fool you, 3 genuine alternatives, and how you can spot the difference between real food and industrial slop. Number 5 is going to shock you because it's been marketed as a healthy family staple for generations, but what actually goes into making it will make you never trust the brand again. Let's expose the truth right now. Number 12. Hovis Bread. Hovis is Britain's most iconic bread brand, founded in 1886 with imagery of traditional bakers and wholesome flour mills. The packaging shows golden wheat fields and rustic farmhouses, suggesting artisan quality and time-honoured baking methods. It's positioned as the responsible choice for families who want proper British bread. And millions of households buy it weekly thinking they're getting traditional, quality bread. The problem here is that Hovis uses the Chorleywood bread process, an industrial method invented in 1961 that makes bread in 3.5 hours instead of the traditional 16 hours. High-speed mixers blast the dough with intense mechanical energy, adding extra water, fat, yeast, and a cocktail of chemicals called processing aids. These processing aids include enzymes, emulsifiers, flour treatment agents, and preservatives that legally don't have to appear on the label because they're considered part of the manufacturing process, not ingredients. You're eating chemicals you don't even know about. The added sugars and vegetable oils aren't there for nutrition. They're there to extend shelf life and create a soft texture that stays fresh for days. Real bread goes stale quickly because it's just flour, water, salt, and yeast. Number 11. Walker's Crisps. Walker's dominates the UK crisp market with over 50% market share. Owned by PepsiCo, it's marketed with cheerful branding and celebrity endorsements suggesting these are simple, quality crisps made from British potatoes. The Made in Britain messaging creates an impression of wholesome, local production, and British consumers eat through millions of packets weekly thinking they're getting straightforward potato snacks. The problem here is that Walker's crisps are cooked in vegetable oils that contain acrylamide, a chemical compound that forms when starchy foods are heated to high temperatures. Acrylamide is classified as a probable human carcinogen by the International Agency for Research on Cancer. Every bag contains it. The potatoes themselves are grown using intensive agricultural methods with chemical fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides. They're stored in facilities treated with sprout suppressants, chemicals that prevent potatoes from sprouting during storage. These chemicals remain as residues. The flavorings listed as natural flavorings are actually complex chemical formulations created in laboratories. Cheese and onion flavor doesn't come from real cheese and onions. It comes from chemical compounds designed to trigger your taste receptors in specific ways. The packaging is non-recyclable in most UK councils, despite the recyclable symbols on the bags. The metallized plastic film can't be processed by standard recycling facilities. Millions of Walker's packets end up in landfills and oceans every year. Number 10. Richmond Sausages. Richmond is one of Britain's best-selling sausage brands, owned by Kerry Foods. The packaging shows plump, appetizing sausages with imagery suggesting quality meat products. They're positioned as affordable family sausages that everyone can enjoy. The price point makes them accessible to budget-conscious shoppers, and families cook them by the pack thinking they're getting decent meat at a fair price. The problem here is that Richmond sausages contain only 42% pork. That means 58% is water, rusk, wheat flour, pork fat, and additives. You're eating more filler than actual meat. That's less meat than many budget dog foods. The pork that is included comes from intensive farming systems where pigs are raised in overcrowded indoor facilities, never seeing daylight or rooting in soil. They're fed on grain laced with antibiotics to prevent disease spreading in the cramped conditions. And the additives are extensive. Sodium triphosphate, which helps retain water and makes the low meat content appear plumper. Sodium metabisulfite is a preservative. Artificial colorings are used to make the pale meat paste look pink and appetizing. The sodium content is excessive. A single Richmond sausage contains nearly half a gram of salt. Eat 3 with your breakfast, and you've consumed over a gram of salt before your day has properly started. Number 9. Müller Corner Yogurts. Müller dominates the UK yogurt market with its Corner range, combining yogurt with separate compartments of fruit, chocolate, or cereal. The marketing emphasizes creaminess and indulgence while suggesting it's still somehow a healthy choice. The colourful packaging and variety of flavours make it appealing to both adults and children. And British consumers eat millions of them weekly, thinking they're getting a relatively healthy dessert or snack. The fruit compote isn't real fruit. It's fruit pieces cooked down with sugar syrup, thickeners, modified starch, and preservatives. The fruit has been processed so heavily that most vitamins have been destroyed. You're eating sugar-soaked fruit-flavoured gel. The yogurt itself contains modified cornstarch to create that thick, creamy texture artificially. Real Greek yogurt is thick because it's been strained to remove whey. Müller yogurt is thick because it's been bulked with starch. And the chocolate or cereal components in some varieties add even more sugar and processing. The chocolate pieces are made with vegetable fats instead of cocoa butter, making them cheaper chocolate substitutes, not real chocolate. Number 8. Kellogg's Corn Flakes. Kellogg's Corn Flakes is marketed as a wholesome breakfast choice, with imagery of golden corn and healthy families starting their day right. The brand has been around since 1906, creating an impression of tradition and nutritional value. It's positioned as a simple, honest cereal, and millions of British families pour it into bowls every morning, thinking they're giving their kids a decent breakfast. The problem here is that cornflakes are ultra-processed food with minimal nutritional value. The corn is stripped of its nutritious germ and bran, leaving only the starchy endosperm. This is then milled, cooked, flattened and toasted with added vitamins sprayed on at the end to replace some of what was removed. The corn itself is grown using intensive monoculture farming with heavy pesticide and herbicide use. Kellogg sources genetically modified corn from suppliers in multiple countries, despite consumer concerns about GM crops. The manufacturing process involves cooking corn at high temperatures with sugar, salt, and malt flavoring, then forcing the mixture through rollers and toasting it again. This double heating at high temperatures destroys any remaining nutrients and creates acrylamide, the same carcinogenic compound found in crisps. The sugar content is higher than the packaging suggests. While cornflakes contain 8 grams per 100 grams, most people eat much larger portions and add more sugar on top. Children consuming a typical bowl with milk and added sugar are getting a sugar bomb for breakfast. Kellogg's also has ethical concerns. The company has been criticized for advertising junk food to children, opposing sugar taxes, and funding research that downplays links between cereal consumption and obesity. Number 7. Wall's Ice Cream. Wall's is Britain's biggest ice cream brand, owned by Unilever. The marketing shows creamy, indulgent desserts with happy families enjoying treats. The variety ranges from Magnum to Cornetto to Carta d'Or, all positioned as premium frozen desserts. The distinctive Wall's logo appears in freezers across every UK supermarket, and British consumers buy it throughout the summer thinking they're getting quality ice cream. The problem here is that Wall's doesn't use real cream in most of its products. Instead, they use vegetable oils and fats, particularly palm oil and coconut oil, to create a cream-like texture at a fraction of the cost. This means you're eating vegetable fat, not dairy cream. The emulsifiers and stabilizers include mono and diglycerides of fatty acids, which help blend the oil and water that naturally want to separate. These are often derived from palm oil sources linked to rainforest destruction. You know how Wall's ice cream has that slightly waxy feeling in your mouth? Like it doesn't melt cleanly? Like there's a film coating your tongue after you eat it? That's the vegetable oils and emulsifiers. Real ice cream made with dairy cream melts smoothly and cleanly. And the air content in Wall's ice cream is at the legal maximum. Ice cream manufacturers pump air into the mixture to increase volume without adding ingredients. This is called overrun, and Wall's maximizes it. You're paying for frozen air. Wall's parent company, Unilever, scores terribly on ethical ratings. They're responsible for massive plastic pollution, questionable labor practices in developing countries, and continued use of palm oil from destructive sources, despite sustainability promises. Number 6. Warburton's Bread. Warburton's is Britain's largest bakery brand, family-owned since 1876, with marketing that emphasises heritage, tradition and quality. The advertising shows the Warburton family personally overseeing production, suggesting artisan care and traditional baking methods. It's positioned as premium bread worth paying extra for, and British households buy it religiously, thinking they're getting superior quality compared to cheaper brands. The problem here is that Warburton's uses the same Chorleywood bread process as Hovis and every other industrial bakery. Despite the family heritage marketing, their factories use high-speed mechanical mixing, chemical processing aids, and artificial additives to produce thousands of loaves per hour. The premium ingredients they advertise are minimal. The wholemeal varieties contain some whole wheat, but it's still processed using the same rapid industrial method that destroys much of the nutritional value. The slow fermentation that creates real bread texture and makes nutrients bioavailable never happens. The added enzymes aren't listed on the label because they're classified as processing aids. These include amylases to break down starches, proteases to modify gluten structure, and hemicellulases to improve dough handling. You're eating enzyme-treated bread without knowing it. The added calcium carbonate, which Warburton's promotes as added calcium for health, is literally chalk dust. It's added to replace calcium removed during industrial milling, but it's not absorbed by your body as effectively as calcium from whole grains. Number 5. Cadbury Dairy Milk. Cadbury Dairy Milk is Britain's most iconic chocolate brand, established in 1905 with royal warrants and a reputation for quality that's been built over generations. The purple packaging and glass-and-a-half slogan suggest generous dairy content and traditional chocolate making. It's marketed as the ultimate British chocolate, and consumers buy it constantly thinking they're getting the same quality Cadbury their grandparents enjoyed. The problem here is that Cadbury was bought by Kraft Foods in 2010, which merged with Heinz to become Kraft Heinz. Since the takeover, the recipe has been quietly changed multiple times to cut costs. The cocoa content has been reduced, and cheaper ingredients have been introduced. The chocolate now contains vegetable fats in addition to cocoa butter. This means it's technically not even pure chocolate according to European standards. Real chocolate contains only cocoa butter as its fat source. Cadbury's adding palm oil and other vegetable fats to reduce costs. You know how Cadbury's chocolate melts differently now than it used to, like it's greasier and leaves a film in your mouth? Like older people complain it doesn't taste the same as when they were young. That's because it genuinely has changed. The recipe modifications to cut costs have altered both texture and taste, and the sugar content is excessive. A standard dairy milk bar contains 54 grams of sugar, which is 13.5 teaspoons. That's more than double the recommended daily sugar intake for adults in a single chocolate bar. Before we continue, I need to ask you something. How many times have you grabbed a Cadbury bar thinking you were treating yourself to quality chocolate, never questioning whether the recipe had been changed or whether the ingredients were what you thought they were? That's exactly what these manufacturers count on. Brand loyalty so strong that consumers don't notice when the product degrades over time. And the brands we're about to cover have taken this deception even further. If someone you know still buys these brands on autopilot, send this their way. One ingredient check could change what they're putting in their families' bodies. Number 4. Heinz Baked Beans. Heinz Baked Beans is a British institution, and households buy millions of cans annually thinking they're getting straightforward beans in tomato sauce. The problem here is that Heinz beans contain more sugar than you'd ever add cooking them yourself. Each can contains nearly 5 teaspoons of sugar, which is there purely to create that distinctive sweet taste British consumers have been conditioned to expect. Real tomato sauce doesn't need that much sugar. The tomato sauce isn't made from fresh tomatoes, it's reconstituted tomato paste mixed with water, modified cornstarch, salt, and sugar. The paste itself is made from tomatoes grown using intensive agriculture with heavy pesticide use, then processed in industrial facilities where they're heated, concentrated, and stored in massive vats. The beans are navy beans, grown primarily in North America using monoculture farming methods. They're dried, shipped across the Atlantic, then rehydrated and cooked in the UK. The environmental impact of shipping dried beans thousands of miles is significant. You know how Heinz beans have that almost candy-like sweetness, like their dessert masquerading as a savoury meal, like the sauce is syrupy rather than tomatoey. That's the excessive sugar content overwhelming the natural flavours. Real baked beans have subtle, savoury flavours from slow cooking, and the sodium content is concerning. A single can contains over 3 grams of salt, which is half your daily limit. Eat beans on toast for lunch and you've consumed a massive salt load before dinner. Heinz also owns hundreds of other brands and has been criticised for tax avoidance, environmental damage, and aggressive marketing practices targeting children with unhealthy products. Number 3. PG Tips. Tea. Coming in at number 3, and this is where it gets genuinely concerning. PG Tips. PG Tips is Britain's second best-selling tea brand, owned by Unilever and marketed as quality everyday tea that brings people together. The pyramid tea bags are promoted as innovative, allowing better water flow for superior flavour. The brand has been in British homes since 1930, building trust over generations, and millions of British people drink it daily thinking they're getting straightforward, quality tea. The problem here is that PG Tips tea bags contain plastic. The pyramid bags are made from polylactic acid, a plant-based plastic that Unilever markets as biodegradable. But research from McGill University found that a single plastic tea bag releases billions of microplastic particles into your cup when steeped in hot water. You're drinking microplastics with every cup. These particles accumulate in your body over time, and scientists are still researching what long-term health effects they cause. Early studies link microplastic consumption to inflammation, gut problems, and potential hormone disruption. The tea itself is sourced from massive plantations where workers are paid poverty wages and exposed to dangerous pesticides. Investigations by the BBC and Channel 4 have documented terrible working conditions on tea estates supplying major UK brands, including PG Tips. The bleaching process used to make the bags white also leaves chemical residues. Tea bags are treated with chlorine or oxygen-based bleaches to achieve that bright white appearance consumers expect. Unbleached tea bags are brownish, which tests show consumers perceive as lower quality. Number 2. Bernard Matthews Turkey Products. Bernard Matthews is a British institution producing turkey products since 1950. The branding emphasises British farming, quality poultry, and family-friendly convenience foods. The distinctive red packaging appears in freezers across every UK supermarket, and the products are marketed as affordable, protein-rich meal solutions, and families buy them regularly thinking they're getting decent turkey at reasonable prices. The problem here is that Bernard Matthews turkey products contain shockingly little actual turkey. The turkey drummers, one of their most popular products, contain only 60% turkey. The rest is water, turkey fat, starches, and additives. You're eating more filler than meat. The mechanically recovered meat used in many Bernard Matthews products is created by blasting turkey carcasses with high-pressure water to remove every scrap of meat and tissue from the bones. This creates a pink slurry that's formed into products like turkey drummers and turkey burgers. You know how Bernard Matthews products have that unnaturally uniform texture, like every bite is identical, like the meat is too smooth and consistent? That's mechanically recovered turkey paste formed into shapes. Real turkey has fiber structure and texture variation, and the additives are extensive. E numbers fill the ingredient list: E450, E451, and others. You're eating chemistry, not food. The sodium content is extreme. A single turkey drummer contains nearly 2 grams of salt. Children eating these as meals or snacks are consuming dangerous amounts of sodium that contribute to high blood pressure and cardiovascular problems later in life. Number 1. Rustler's microwavable burgers. And at number 1, the absolute worst brand sold in UK supermarkets, Rustler's. Rustler's microwavable burgers and hot sandwiches represent everything wrong with British processed food. The products are marketed as convenient meal solutions for people on the go, quick lunches that take 90 seconds in the microwave. The packaging shows appetizing burgers with melted cheese and juicy patties. And desperate students, time-pressed workers, and people with limited cooking skills buy them thinking they're getting edible food. The problem here is that Rustler's burgers contain only about 20% actual beef, and calling it beef is generous. The patties are made from mechanically recovered meat, which is the lowest grade of meat product, legally allowed for human consumption. A food safety inspector who spoke to me anonymously said, "Rustler's is as close to non-food as you can get while still being legal to sell. The meat is recovered scraps, the bread is industrial foam, the cheese is processed cheese food containing no real cheese, and the sauce is chemical approximation of flavour. The beef used comes from the cheapest possible sources, often from intensive feedlots where cattle are kept in overcrowded conditions and fed on grain rather than grass. The meat quality is so poor it requires heavy seasoning and chemical flavour enhancers to be remotely palatable. The cheese isn't cheese. It's processed cheese food made from cheese scraps, milk powder, emulsifiers, and vegetable oils. Real cheese melts naturally from heat. This stuff melts from emulsifiers that allow oil and water to blend unnaturally. The sauce is mostly modified starch, water, and artificial flavourings. The BBQ sauce contains no real tomatoes or smoke, flavour, just chemicals designed to trigger your taste receptors in ways that approximate BBQ taste. If you want actual food, instead of industrial slop wrapped in marketing, here are 4 brands worth buying. Number 1. The Bread Factory. This independent bakery based in London makes real bread using traditional methods with just 4 ingredients: organic flour, water, salt, and wild yeast. No Chorleywood process, no chemical additives, no processing aids hidden from the label. The Bread Factory uses long fermentation, meaning the dough proves for 16 to 24 hours before baking. This breaks down the phytic acid in wheat, making nutrients bioavailable and creating that complex, slightly sour flavour real bread should have. The texture is dense and substantial because it's actual bread, not industrial foam. They use organic flour from British farms that don't use chemical pesticides or artificial fertilisers. The wheat is stone ground, preserving the wheat germ and bran that contain most of the nutrients. Nothing is stripped away and artificially added back. The bread goes stale within 2 days because it doesn't contain preservatives. That's how real bread behaves. If bread lasts a week, it's not bread, it's a chemistry experiment. The Bread Factory recommends slicing and freezing what you won't eat immediately. You'll find the Bread Factory in independent retailers, farmers markets, and online with delivery across London and the South East. It costs around £3.50 for a sourdough loaf, which seems expensive compared to Hovis at £1.20. But you're getting actual food made by bakers, not factory workers operating mixing machines. Number 2. Kernel. Kernel is a UK company making proper peanut butter with one ingredient: peanuts. nothing else. No palm oil, no added sugar, no emulsifiers or stabilizers, just dry roasted peanuts ground into butter. Real peanut butter requires stirring because the natural peanut oils separate from the solids. Brands like Sunpat and Skippy add palm oil and emulsifiers so the product stays mixed. But that's not peanut butter anymore. It's peanut-flavored spread. Kernel also makes almond butter, cashew butter, and mixed nut butters using the same one-ingredient philosophy. The cashew butter is particularly good, creamy and naturally sweet without any added sugar. You'll find Kernel in Waitrose, Planet Organic, independent health food shops, and online. It costs around £5 for a jar compared to £2.50 for Sunpat. But Sunpat is 50% peanuts and 50% additives. Kernel is 100% peanuts. You're paying for actual food. Number 3. Yo Valley Organic. Yo Valley is a UK dairy company making real yogurt from organic milk without the sugar bombs and thickeners that brands like Mueller use. Their natural yogurt contains just 2 ingredients: organic milk and live cultures. That's what yogurt is supposed to be. The natural yogurt is tangy because it's been properly fermented without added sugar to mask the flavour. If you want sweetness, add fresh fruit or honey yourself. At least then you know exactly what you're eating and can control the amount. Yo Valley also makes fruit yogurts, but the fruit content is real and the sugar content is half what Mueller uses. A Yo Valley strawberry yogurt contains 12 grams of sugar compared to Muller's 20 grams. Still sweet, but not candy-level sweet. The texture is thinner than Mueller because it doesn't contain modified cornstarch or artificial thickeners. Real yogurt is supposed to be pourable. If it's thick and gelatinous, it's been thickened artificially. Available in all major supermarkets including Tesco, Sainsbury's and Waitrose. Natural yogurt costs around £2 for 500 green, fruit yogurt's around £1.50 for 4 pots. Comparable pricing to Mueller, but infinitely better quality. I get it. This probably feels overwhelming, like I've just ruined every convenient product in your cupboard. But you're not powerless here. You just need to know what to look for. Pick up any product, turn it over, look at the ingredients list, scan for words you can't pronounce. Methylaceothiazolinone, modified cornstarch, mono and diglycerides. These are chemicals added to change the texture or extend shelf life. Real food doesn't need them. Look for modified anything. Modified starch, modified oils. This means chemically altered from its natural state. Red flag. Check for mechanically recovered or reformed meat. This is paste created by blasting carcasses with high pressure water. Lowest grade meat legally allowed. Put it back. Scan for vegetable oils and palm oil. Cheap fats replacing butter, cream or cocoa butter. If chocolate lists vegetable fats, it's not real chocolate. Check sugar content per 100 grams. Over 15 grams is high. Over 25 is very high. Mueller Corner contains 40 grams. Pure sugar. For meat products, check the percentage. Richmond sausages are 42% meat. You're eating more filler than meat. Look for 70% or higher. Compare products side by side. Hovis has 8 ingredients for bread. Real sourdough has 4. Flour, water, salt, culture. Everything else speeds production and extends shelf life. Check dates. Real food spoils quickly. If bread lasts 2 weeks or yogurt lasts 6 weeks, it's heavily preserved. So what do you think? Have you been eating industrial slop for years without questioning it? Drop a comment below. Which brand are you ditching first? And if this just stopped you from poisoning your family with mechanically recovered meat and chemical additives, share it. Send it to anyone still buying Cadbury thinking it's quality chocolate. Your friends feeding their kids Mueller Corner thinking it's healthy. Anyone who deserves to know what they're actually eating.